Today we're going to roast some beans in my Behmore 1600 sample roaster. First you need a vacuum cleaner with a good long hose on it, and then you're going to need to open up a window. Even if your electric roaster is directly under a hood, it's a good idea to open a window. Next, disconnect the smoke detector. Roasting coffee is a smoky process no matter how many windows you have open or how good your kitchen exhaust system is, so disconnect the smoke detector before you start. And then set up a couple of fans. Electric coffee roasters do come with catalytic converters usually, but coffee is so smoky that the catalytic converters can only do so much. Finally, let's get some coffee. Today I'm going to roast a Colombian sample. These are my Colombian green beans, and today we'll do half a pound. On my propane roaster, I can only do 1.4 pound batches. On a Behmore, you can do a quarter pound, a half a pound, or a pound. The Behmore plugs into a standard outlet. Inside it has a chaff collector, which you have to get out of the way, and then this is the bean holder, the wire cage that holds the beans. And you can see the halogen lights. This is what heats the machine. A very reflective interior and halogen lights. I've poured in my half pound of beans, so let's get the bean holder loaded in. You have to load this in properly because it does need to rotate. If that should come to a stop while the machine is running, the beans would catch on fire. So it's always good to give it a good check. Make sure that it is properly connected. And then you insert the chaff screen. That should slide in evenly, and then close the door. And then you need to set the time. So we set it for half a pound, which defaults to 12 minutes. Set it on the B setting that defaults to 13, and then manually raise the time. For a half pound of coffee beans, you can only go as high as 13:30 on the roasting clock. That's a safety feature. Then I've pressed the start button, and you can see the cage now is rotating. The Behmore does have an interior light that you can turn on and you can get a look at the beans, but you're also roasting by sound. When you hear a sound like popcorn popping, that means that first crack has started. For this batch, first crack started after about 11.5 minutes. That continues for about a minute, and then there's a short time of silence, really only about 30 seconds to a minute. And then second crack begins with just under a minute left on the clock. I turn off the roast, and that automatically starts the cooling cycle in the machine. I open the door to help things along. The beans will continue to roast in an electric roaster, so it's important to get a cold airflow in there. And while that is in the cool cycle, I start vacuuming up the chaff. Believe me, there is a lot more chaff back behind that chaff screen. So I vacuum out all the chaff. You have to vacuum that out or it'll catch on fire next time you roast. And now the cage is cool enough to touch, so I pull out the beans. And there they are, my beans. They've roasted a nice brown color. Let's take a look at them, pour them out. I don't see any of that oily sheen that says the roast is a very dark roast, and that's good because I don't like very dark roast. I don't like Vienna roast or French roast. No, this is what you would call probably a full city roast. Maybe if it darkens up a little over the next several hours, it would be a full city plus, but I'm going to guess that's a full city roast, a great roast, my favorite roast for drinking coffee. I'm very happy with this. Good job. Now I have to let the beans sit for at least a day or two before I can taste them. And that's roasting on the Behmore 1600.